Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Hope you all are doing well. It's been a very busy morning. I am at NCM in Bowling Green, Kentucky. This is National Corvette Museum, and I'm out here with NASA, that's National Autosports Association. And yeah, we're here to go through the HPDE program. I'm running HPDE 2. We had a very busy morning. I prepped the car already. We did a warm-up session already. I'm about to go back out in maybe like 20 minutes or so. So I'm trying to get this little intro done as fast as I can so that we can get into kind of the nitty-gritty of what we're doing out on track. With NASA, it's very specific in what they do for their HPDE program. It's not just open session, go out there and drive. There's specific drills that you go out there and do and you focus on. And after every session, you go back into the classroom and then you basically debrief on what happened out there, things that you can improve on. It's a very driver training specific type of program, which is really cool, which is what I want to do. That's why I'm here, right? The first session was just a warm up. Again, I have driven this track before. I've driven the West course, but today and tomorrow we're driving the Grand course, which is the entire thing. It's huge. I think it's over 3 miles long. So the first half I'm familiar with, but the second half, the back half where there's all the elevation change, that I'm very unaware and inexperienced in over there. So I'm really learning, doing my best. The next session that we're going to go out is an offline drill. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out there. It's going to be instructor, about 4 students behind that instructor, another instructor, another 4 students, to make sure that they can monitor those 4 students. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to go out there. The first lap, the first half of the lap is we're just going to stick to the left side of the track. So again, it's called an offline drill, so we're not running the racing line, right? So we're going to stay on the left side of the track for the first half up until tabletop, which is the turn right after Deception, which is a crazy turn. And then we're going to go to the right side of the track and then finish off the rest of that lap on the right side. So stay tuned. We're going to keep learning. Very busy. I'm going to try to update you guys as much as possible. But yeah, I'm going to start to get the car prepped and we're going to head back out on track. session, I think like on the last lap, I heard a metallic-y pinging from under the car, like something had fallen off and hit the bottom of the car. I didn't think anything of it. By the time I pitted in, I popped the hood and I was looking around. If you look, no more hybrid racing spark plug wire cover. It broke off. See these little tabs of what's left of it? So it's made out of really thin metal. So I think just the vibration of the engine caused it to just like snap at these mounting points. So this is all that's left of it. It's on track in turn 2 right now. So RIP hybrid racing spark plug wire cover. And also I got a coolant leak. I thought it was a thermostat housing. It's actually the lower radiator coolant hose. So I'm gonna pull it off. I'm about to make a mess. Don't worry, it's only water. And hopefully we can cut the back section off and just like push it farther, seal it, and then it should be good to go. Last session was pretty fun though. Did a offline drill. It was on the left side of the track for the first half of that first lap. I was on the right side of the track specifically for the second half of that first lap. And after that it was just like open lapping. So I followed some of the instructors around. Really fun. GoPro died maybe halfway through it, so I don't even know how much footage I have from that, but we'll fix this leak. Go to class at 1:30. Next session is a reverse grid drill. So I think they're gonna put the fastest drivers in the rear, the slowest in the front, and it's basically puts you in a situation where there's gonna create a train. It's gonna have to like force the drivers to do point bys and get some passing repetitions in. So that'll be the next session, but hopefully I can fix this so we can go get some lunch. And then, yeah. update on the car. It's leaking everywhere. I cut a section off the end of the radiator hose down here because it looked like that's where it was leaking from, and it's still leaking. So I'm thinking there may be a crack on the housing. So we'll eventually pull that off. I think I got one more session in the day, and then hopefully we can finish that session without anything catastrophically breaking. But this nut here on the valve cover did come loose last session, so I got oil everywhere. Luckily the nut was still there. So oil leak, coolant leak, broken spark plug wire cover, everything is kind of just like not really working out well, but it's still running, and I think I can at least make the next session. Last session was they called it a reverse grid, and basically they put the faster cars in the back of the group and then they put the slower cars in the front of the group. Keep in mind I mentioned cars, not actual drivers, so we had like Z06s, Supras in the back of the pack and like stocked me out as up front. I kind of just sat all the way in the back just to see how that would go, and I actually had an instructor sitting with me. His name is Eric, cool guy. He runs the time trials here, and he kind of gave me some pointers after the session. But as you can see in the video of that session, it was just a crazy train the entire time. I think I might have gotten maybe one good hot lap towards the end. Everything else was just stuck behind someone waiting for them to point me by. But other than that, I finally had an instructor in the car with me, going through the motions and kind of figuring out what areas I need to improve on. And clearly I need to improve on turn 5 and 16. They'll scare the crap out of me because they're high-speed sweepers. Eric just mentioned that I should brake lighter and for longer instead of a medium brake, which is what I was doing, and it makes sense. So now I'm just going to increase my braking length but decrease the braking pressure. That and braking further into turn 10, which is that left-hand hairpin. I'm braking too far back, so I can go in it much deeper, hit the brakes a lot harder. This kind of help with that section of the track, but everything else he said I did okay on. So that was cool to have an instructor right along. This next and final session for the day is going to be HPDE 1 and HPDE 2 kind of combined into one session. There aren't any drills going on. I think it's just going to go out and drive and kind of work on things that I was working on today, kind of putting it all together. I think a big part of what I need to work on is corner stations, keeping my eye on the corner stations as I drive past them, because I tend to just tunnel vision and focus too much on the driving aspect, and I'm not looking out at corners because there could be a black flag pointed right at me, there could be a red flag, yellow flag, whatever. I'm forgetting to look up. So this last session I'm just gonna focus on keeping my eyes on the corner stations. We finished the last session and we have some issues. The car was cutting out a little bit on track, and it seemed like to not want to stay in VTEC, and it was coming out of it, in and out of it. And once we pitted, I was looking at the fuel pressure gauge right here, and it was only bouncing at around 30 psi. We're suspecting the fuel pressure regulator kind of gave out. We are looking for a B-series fuel pressure regulator. We put out some messages, and we're looking around right now, and also that coolant thermostat housing is still leaking, so we're gonna wait till this thing cools down and then pull that off and find out why in the hell it's leaking. So we're in Bowling Green right now, in the little busy part of the city. We just went to Advanced Auto Parts to grab some, I don't know where it went, but JB Weld to try and seal up the thermostat housing. There is a micro crack around the whole thing. But Bowling Green itself is alive and crazy right now because Import Alliance is also happening right now. So this main street right here is just full of cars. All you hear is cars. All you see is underglow. There's just people everywhere. There's so much traffic. I still need a fuel pressure regulator. We're heading back to the hotel so I can seal up this water neck. And just hope and pray that someone comes through with a fuel pressure regulator, because no one else around in the area has one. I called around to all the part shops. The best option I had was AutoZone. They could order one and be here tomorrow, but it wouldn't be till 4 p.m., which is, you know, the end of the day already. I don't think I'm gonna be running tomorrow, because with little fuel pressure that I have, I think I have like only 30. It's not gonna work out. I'm probably gonna run lean and blow this engine up that Charlie built me, and I'm not about to have that happen, so pray for us. Good morning. Day 2 has begun. The car is started because we got fuel pressure now, so hard to see. We picked up a used regulator from a local here, we drove about 40 minutes out, and we got a new water net, and it's not leaking anymore. So the car should be able to run today. We're bleeding it out, and hopefully this performs and no more issues, but everything's working. The sun is rising. That's probably overexposed, but I got class in about 15 minutes, so the car should be ready.
First session of the day was a warm-up. Obviously it's just warming up, nothing too crazy going on there. Second session, I didn't get any footage because I ended up being occupied with something inside the car. I had my lead instructor Derek hop in the car with me, and he went out and just to investigate and see where I'm at as far as my skill level. And then it got to one point where he instructed me to pretend that there was a car on the right side of me and to take the next 3 corners in that scenario. So I would leave room on the right side of my car for the imaginary car. So I went through, I think it was turn 1A, 1B, and 2. I think even going through 4 and 5 as well. Once I got to 6, he said, okay, now pretend there's a car on your left side once we enter 8. And I said, yes. And then as we went through 8, I just completely forgot what corner we were at until I approached the hairpin turn, which is turn 10. And at that point I was like, this is turn 10. I was supposed to do that 8 like 2 corners ago. And I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. I totally blanked and missed it. All those corners I was supposed to pretend there's a car on my left side. And the moment we looked up at the flag stand, there's a black flag waving, and I was like, is that me? And then there was a Corvette behind me as well. So we went through the rest of the lap, and then we pitted just in case it was us. Ended up not being us at all. It was the Corvette that was behind us. Checker flag came out, we were done anyway. But by the time we got into the paddock, he looked at me and said, I think you're ready for HPDE 3. I was like, well, that's cool. Since this is the last one of the year, I'll go ahead and take the exam, because you have to take a written exam and then also get a check ride. So I said, I'll take the exam over the winter break, and then I'll do a check ride at the first event of next year. And he looks at me and goes, that was your check ride. And I was like, sick. So now I just have to do the online written exam. It's open book too, so that should be fairly simple, I'm hoping. And by the time next year starts, I can hit the ground running. I'll be in HPDE 3. I can start that, spend however much time I need to spend in there, and then get into 4, and then eventually test for the comp license. So everything's kind of going pretty well right now. Car itself is doing okay. It's still running. Thankfully, someone who's 37 minutes away, I didn't even get his name, but thank you for helping out. He had a stock B-Series fuel pressure regulator and the thermostat housing as well. So we drove out late last night, grabbed it, came back in the morning, installed everything, and the car has been running decent. The coolant leak is at least gone. Fuel pressure was better than it was before, but now it's slowly dropping. So I'm starting to think that I might have a fuel pump issue. It kind of sucks because this is like literally the second event on this fuel pump, and in the grid driving around, it'll kind of start to cut out and buck on me. And fuel pressure, you look on the gauge, it's like 35, 37. But out on track, it's okay. Not the best, because I feel like it seems to be kicking into VTEC and then disengaging VTEC, and you would think it's like some issue with the VTEC solenoid or being low on oil. None of those are the cases. Primarily, there's a fuel issue that I have to address after this event. We only have one more session left, which is a mixed group between HPDE 2 and 1. Also, the last session that we just did was a passing drill. You guys could see that in the footage, but it was basically a game of leapfrog. It started off good, and then it started to get a little messy towards the end. After that, it was just open track session, so I was able to get some hot laps without really having any traffic, and learn a lot of stuff. I was able to push a little bit more as far as carrying more speed through the high speed sweepers, turn 5 and 16, and then break deeper into the hairpin in turn 10. Still trying to figure out my turning point there. It's a little unique, but I'm still working through it. There's a lot of things that I'm still working through, but so far everything's doing good, learning a lot, moving up in the ladder, so it's all good.